Yo, this has been in the chamber for almost 4 days, 5 days. So let's hope for clean discharge. Clean discharge number 1. Clean discharge number 2. Sorry. All the neighbors I just disturbed. Clean discharge number 3. Remember, with black powder, you always got these caps you gotta clean out. Can't send them around the cylinder, it's not good. All 6. An old trusty rusty fired every round. And like I said earlier, these were stored for at least a good 5 days. It rained. Did pretty good. So for a little Italian historical piece, black powder, revolver, it is doing great. I call it trusty rusty because it's been through a couple of rainstorms and it actually has some rust on it. So yeah, I think it did great for the condition it is in and how long those rounds were stored. That's all 6 rounds. Now let's get to cleaning. Okay, so now we're going to go through the cleaning process. Real simple, you get your black powder, your gear and pin needle. Need this thing. You can see my bag is a little roughed up. I'm gonna need more of this stuff. Darn it. I want this nice and wet. Because at this point, I got a lot of cleaning to do. A lot of cleaning. Make sure you get some twists in there. Oop, that rag was supposed to come back out. Crap. Ew, jeez. Go again. Nice and wet. This stuff dissolves black powder. Make sure it gets down in there. That hammer was supposed to be only half cocked. That's your rotating your cylinder. You want it good and dripping because that powder was in there for a while. It was a little moist. Had to have been a little moist. Need that cylinder back. Yeah, we're gonna find where I left off. That one. Cylinder up. So, this is a black powder revolver. Technically, it's a muzzle loader, even though you load the cylinder. It does carry 6 rounds as opposed to the traditional 1 round of a muzzleloader. This is obviously only for self-defense. It does not have the 16-inch barrel to hunt with. So typically it's for self-defense. I want it nice and sopping wet right now because a lot of powder residue to get out, I'm pretty sure. Like I said, old trusty Rusty here. She been in kind of storage for a little while. Not storage, but yeah, she's been in storage for a while, but she's also been on the hoster for a while. Good 4 days in the rain. We've been through the rain twice. The caps that you put on the nipples here at the bottom were beginning to oxidize copper green, so I was kind of worried that they wouldn't even fire. They actually went off mint, like really good compared to what I thought was going to happen. I thought we were going to have a malfunction, but she worked just as she was supposed to do. Like I tell the guys, this is my old lady, my girlfriend, my wife. This is my wife. And spin right in there. Get that lube all up in there. This stuff is designed to eat up the powder, not really the rust, but the powder. All the residue. Anywhere I see powder residue, I'm going to want to get a good drop of this stuff in there. I want this thing soaked. Then it's going to dry for a little while. And I'm going to reload it. Like I said, unfortunately, she went through a couple of rainstorms fully loaded. Definitely morning dew in the early spring isn't the greatest for anything. That done. Yeah, I'm next to a range. Unfortunately, I'm not a member of the Londonderry Fish and Game Club, so I can't go out to the range. But I found a spot that was relatively safe to shoot. And I say relatively because it is hunting season, so you never really know if somebody is on the other side of a tree or the other side of a hill. So I do like to, even though I'm out in the woods, I do like to tell people, I do like to say, you know, I'm shooting this object, I'm shooting this tree stump. I don't shoot living trees, I only shoot dead ones. I'm shooting this tree stump. Everything behind this tree stump should move, and then give them time to move in case there is a hunter over there. You don't want to just walk up and be like, oh, a tree stump, blah, 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 during hunting season, because you don't know if there's somebody behind that tree stump or around that tree stump hunting the other side of it in a bush somewhere, you know. These are absorbent pads, kind of like a ShamWow. So you always kind of want to, you know, give them the heads up before you pull the trigger at any point, because you don't know if there is a turkey hunter over there or a small game hunter, deer hunter. Right now it's turkey and small game season. I believe turkey and small game season. Everything went off without a hitch, even though I said she was loaded for a good 4 days. Obviously, every morning is a dew morning, so every morning gets a little wet, regardless. And then there was a good rainstorm where I woke up in a puddle. My crows are around. So, yeah. The fact that it all went off without a hitch, each cap went off smoothly without too much of a problem. The cylinder rotated smoothly. Everything went good. Kind of amazes me. Like, God really blessed me on that one. I would say Jesus, but it's not really Jesus' motif, you know. God's more apt to help you with this one. Till Jesus comes back with the flaming sword. More than likely, God would help you with something like this. Let's run this down a couple of times. Try to keep track of the cylinders. You know me, I'm kind of a gunsmith, so I'll probably be customizing this in a little bit. Fortunately, it is an Italian made. I say that because, you know, I'm a made in America guy. I'd love to see heritage manufacturing or H&R manufacturing, you know, copy this out. Or get themselves a muzzleloader revolver if they don't already have one that I don't know about. The two companies I worked for in the past, Heritage and H&R. Ruger's probably already has a muzzleloader. She's looking pretty. Go back in on this one here. Like I said, I am having a rust problem. Because everywhere the blue is gone, I'm really developing rust. This is something you can't really avoid when you're using a gun like this. Because out in Mother Nature, you have it. You know, you have water, you have the environment. And water in the environment always begets rust. Fortunately, I am seeing a bunch of little black powder pieces down in there. Little chunks that, if you can see it, they gotta come up. That's Pyrodex powder, is what I'm using. Kinda look down each cylinder and you can see a spot of light. And if you can't see that spot of light, it means the cylinder is clogged. So you have to run a drop of this stuff down it. And this stuff will eat up all the powder and eventually leak out. Just kind of let it sit there is what I normally do. I don't have pinprick poker to poke it out with. Just kind of let it sit there and let this stuff do magic. There we go, I can see a hole now. See light out the other side. Unfortunately, I'm running out of supplies. I don't have money for more. So. Whoa. I'm supposed to do that. Look. I don't know if I can line it up for you so you can see. Probably not. But you look down the cylinder, you'll see a little spot of light at the base of the cylinder, and that means it is clean. Fortunately, it looks like I got 1, 2, 3, 4 clogged cylinders. Excuse me. I am trying to conserve this so that I can use it. Guys, let's face it. You know. The longer it sits in there, the longer it dissolves the powder in the bottom. It's not necessarily a bad thing that's sitting in there, it's just looks like it's going to be a while. There it goes. was way too much. Pour right out. Still very clogged. Clogged be make clogged. There we go. And we got it gush out. With a lot of residue on it. A lot of little chunks of stuff. That's what we want. Oh crap, there's still crap in there. There's still fluid in there. Boop boop. There we go. Like I said, I wanted to go and soak this thing. Get all that powdery resin up out of there. Come on, buddy. Why can't I see through you? Two. Let's see. I love how smoothly that's spinning right now. To find myself a sewing needle. Having cloggy issues. Through. Okay, so clean pass through. Bright as the other ones, but it's saying, oh, that's why. Yeah, that worked. Hi. Hey George, what did I tell you about drinking on the job? There we go. Damn, what the fuck? That's what I've been working on. just be the liquid. It might. I do know I gotta wipe my mouth off now. That's why I can't see through it. So that's all just dry process. We're gonna have to work on drying that. Next step is add this stuff. And this is for the nipple plug, which goes in here. Okay, so take this time before I shut off the camera to let this dry out to tell you about Crisco. This is a good old stick of Crisco. This will waterproof my gun, okay? So after this dries, I'm going to add a nice layer of Crisco to all of the metal surfaces, and that's going to waterproof it so it doesn't rust as much. And then I'm going to load it. So Crisco butter, Crisco fat, the same thing you make Crisco candles with, Crisco terracotta ovens. That will help lubricate everything and keep things waterproof, watertight. You can also use Crisco to load like birdshot, okay? You can use Crisco to load like a buckshot on your rifles. Kinda, you can do it here too, but you know. But you'd use Crisco to load a rat shot in here so you can shoot BBs. Just, you know, wad up the Crisco and the BBs, send it through the release and down like you would do a ball and press. Just press it down, and that will load you some rat shot or bird shot and some buckshot into your muzzleloader, so that you can use buckshot as opposed to a lead ball. She's rotating, man. Yeah, my baby loves me. Right. So we're gonna let that dry up. You might end up wiping it down with a rag in a little bit. Don't really have an actual rag, so we're gonna have to use one of the yellow wet rags. So yeah, next video is loading. Okay, to go over some safety features of this gun, it's real simple. Half cock is a safety, so you can spin the cylinder. Okay. Full cock is active. It is a single action, so as soon as I pull the trigger, this will release the hammer and allow me to fire. Okay, and if I release the trigger before I get to half cock, it stops it at half cock. I go back to full cock, release the trigger after half cock, and it locks it in a safety. So that now I can't get the hammer back at all. Okay, so I have to work the trigger to bring the hammer back. Hold the trigger all the way forward, and now I can bring it back in one fluid motion. Okay, so you got half cock is safety, full cock is armed, and then if I release the trigger before I bring it all the way back, it's got another safety. It's got another safety that allows it to lock the hammer forward. And then you squeeze the trigger to release the hammer all the way again. So that's pretty cool. So you can pretty much lock the firearm. If you don't want anybody using it, but it's still loaded, just release before you center it back, and went too far. And that should lock it in place so that the next person that picks it up can't fire it. Yeah? Cool, right? Now I'm going to take some of this Crisco butter and just kind of wipe down the gun. I want to get the barrel, bullet rod, anything that will rust, you should coat it with this Crisco, which is pretty much everything. Yeah, it's sticky sometimes. It's not supposed to go all the way down there. Well, you want to get all of this. And this is a waterproofer that will waterproof and lubricate the gun so that it doesn't rust. I do want to avoid putting it inside the cylinder at this point because I don't want the cylinder wet. I'm going to load it next. But I want to get around the cylinder, both sides of the gun. I want to get in the hammer. I do want to avoid the nipples. I don't want to get the nipples with the Crisco because you don't want that to clog the nipple up again. Have that problem again. Get the hammer. Get the mechanics under the hammer. It just kind of works like a gun lube. Lube it all up so that when it does get wet, the water kind of runs off. It's all black now. And that'll add a nice little waterproofing layer to the gun. It'll stop it from rusting as much. You can add this to pretty much every firearm. Crisco is good for that. You can add it to pretty much every firearm. Crisco is good for that. Sorry, I forgot you were down there. I mean up there. Yeah. Then you kind of want to let that dry on as well. So that's going to sit for a little bit. We'll wipe down this. A little much. Up. That'll stop your gun from rusting while it's out in the environment. Like me, I live out here, so yeah. It has to be all weathered or it doesn't function. She's looking pretty. Spinning pretty. In there. That worked out. Nice and cleaned. She's good shiny. Give that time to dry, and then we'll go on to loading. Yeah. Okay, now it's time for reload. using Pyrex powder. Get that open. Got the gun at half cock. Got trusty measuring tool. Now you see I am just a hair above 35, which, if you know about this gun and Pyrex powder, it is suggested that you load at 25. I'm shooting a little higher than that, but yeah. Typically use a plastic spoon to get this part done. It can be messy and it can be wasteful, so you know, you gotta kind of run with it. You don't want to spill this stuff all over the place. You do want to be careful. You do not want to be smoking while doing this, obvious reasons. Okay. Now, as you see, it's fully loaded. Yeah. Load in from this side with that gap there. Make sure I'm still at the line where I need to be. Okay. I like to give it a knock to settle the powder. Then you drop it all in. Okay. Rotate, 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 and then when it's underneath your groove, settle that in and punch it down. Now that cylinder is almost loaded. We still got to put the cap on. So we move to the next cylinder. Oh, I can't cover my tools. Make sure we're still at the right line. Usually you screw this down and it doesn't move after that, but never be 100%. Always check. And make sure we're at the line. Gun. In. Give it a couple of knocks to make sure it settles. Set your round. And the round just kind of falls into place as you rotate it in. Back over here. Set your ball. Punch it down. Rotate back. And we do it all over again. And this is one of the reasons why you don't really need a background check for this gun, because it takes so long to load it. They don't see it as an actual criminal threat, so they don't background check in New Hampshire for it. This is also why they consider it a muzzle loader. So it does take a little while to load it if you don't have the preset quick loads for it. It takes a little bit. set that in. You know, it's just, there's the hole, there's the bore. Over. Scrape some of that back in. Okay. Do a couple of knocks to settle it and flatten it down. That looks short. Maybe the other one. Find out in a sec. Now you can load this as low as 15 grains and as high as 35. Very customizable load in this gun. Like I said earlier, you can load it with rat shot, BB pellets, which would be bird shot. You can load it with buckshot. You can load it with rubber bullet. You can load it with pepper ball. Very versatile gun. You can pretty much put whatever you want in it, right down to pebble. Like you bring up a handful of pebble, you can use that as a bird shot. You can kind of load it with a stone, but the stone does have to be the right size or you're gonna bust your gun. Wrap, settle it down. Again, this is Pyrodex powder, so it is supposed to shoot with less of a poof cloud and more power. Always measure your powder. Never eyeball your powder. You can get in a lot of trouble eyeballing your powder. Overloading is dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. You can definitely blow apart the gun, destroy the cylinder, do a lot of damage to your hand. Rotated one a little too far, but it's alright. A couple wraps. And ammunition's very cheap for this gun. Basically get away with 35 bucks for hundreds of loads. The Pyrodex powder itself goes for, I think, $20 to $30 depending. The balls are only like $16, and then the caps are the little bit more expensive at like $14 to $16 for 100. The caps, again, are going to be your most important piece because without the cap, the gun does not fire. Technically, even though I have just loaded every cylinder, because there is no caps on the gun, it's not loaded. It's got powder. It's got a ball in it, but because I don't have the cap, it's not considered loaded. Okay. Now, all of those are in. You might be able to see them, you might not. You kind of want to look them over and make sure that they're all basically at the same height. That'll tell you that your load was the same all the way around. And of course, you don't have to have the load the same all the way around, but it does help with accuracy. Now right here is just a little piece of the lead that gets pulled off as you punch it in. I like to get those out of the way because I don't like jamming in the gun, and if that gets caught up in the cylinder or somewhere, it could easily jam. I mean, they use lead for this gun for a reason. It is very pliable. It's very pliable, and it, breaks down easy. These are your caps. Okay, I like to use tweezers to put these on because it is a little hard to maneuver them with big fingers. And now that's a live round. Get another one, spin it around. And now that's a live round. Spin it one more. Set it down. That is now a live round. A little too far. Another live round. Sometimes with this gun, people like to leave one cylinder empty as a safety precaution and not give it a cap or a ball or powder. I think that, all 6 shots are beneficial, and it takes way too long to reload. So I load all 6. That's all loaded. I'll bring the hammer back, hold the trigger all the way to release, and we are good to go. See, that's the safety. Squeeze the trigger. Dink, comes back.